Hello, everybody. Bienvenidos a Sportscene. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. It's our last sports scene of the semester, and it has been a busy couple of weeks in the sporting world, so we're going to hop right into it. But first, let's meet our aspiring winners today. Going from left to right, we have in the Indomitian Sioux jersey, graduating in about a week time, Mr. Matt Gutzman. Nice to see you today.
Good to see you, too.
And over on his left, your right, if you're viewing at home, we have the honorable sophomore just found out, Travis Udell. And we continue over. Who's that? Is that the ref? Oh, wait, no, that's just Nick Adams. Nice to see you today.
Happy to be here.
All right, speaking of refs, let's hop right into our first topic of the day. Last Saturday was the big boxing match, or maybe it was more like the big hug out between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Millions generated in revenue, but was it necessarily worth the investment? Panelists, what do you think? We'll start with you, Matt.
It necessarily wasn't worth the investment. I mean, it was $90 on pay-per-view to buy it and watch it. I did buying and watching it, but I had a little get-together at my house. But I think it was pretty clear who won that fight, and I believe it was Floyd Money Mayweather. He threw more punches, landed twice as many punches, landed more power punches. The statistics show Mayweather won. I don't know how you could say anything else but the facts.
Travi.
Well, I'd have to disagree with you there. I think that as far as being someone who doesn't know much about boxing at all, just being like a fan of like this is the biggest like sporting event of a long time and watching it, not knowing much about boxing, Pacquiao seemed like he was being like the aggressor, and Mayweather was just being all defensive. Like you said, I saw a picture edit of Pacquiao and Mayweather together, like they were dancing at prom. That's what it looked like. But I don't know. I just think that Pacquiao was the one who actually seemed like he wanted to fight, and Mayweather was just like, "Oh, stay away from me. I'm just gonna try not to do something to lose this fight."
Friendly tip for the rookie, you don't want to admit you don't know anything about a sport when you come onto Sports Scene. So
Especially
points down for you.
Especially when you disagree. I'm going to have to agree with Matt on this one. I think Mayweather fights more defensively usually, and he actually threw more punches than Pacquiao did. Unfortunately, as we've mentioned, it was an uninteresting fight. A lot of people aren't sure that it was worth it, but Mayweather did indeed win that fight.
Not much more to say about it. And we're going to move right on to a different topic. We've got some NBA stuff to talk about. I called this shot, like 4 months ago, and lo and behold, Steph Curry, the man, wins the Most Valuable Player of the Year award for the NBA season this year. Guys, do you think he rightly earned it, or was another guy snubbed?
I definitely think he deserves the MVP award. I mean, he averaged 23.8 points per game and 7 assists, and he led the Golden State Warriors to 67 wins in one season. I mean, I remember a few years back, I hardly even knew who the Golden State Warriors were like. And he brought them, Steph Curry, ever since he was drafted, had brought them basically from the bottom all the way to the top. So this guy definitely deserves the MVP, in my opinion.
Mr. Adams.
I think Steph had the most complete season out of anyone in the MVP race. I'm personally a huge Anthony Davis fan. I think Anthony Davis is a more complete player offensively, defensively. I think he can do it all for the team, but he was riddled with injuries. It was just too small of a sample size for Anthony Davis or anyone else for that matter, LeBron James included. I think Steph was the best offensive player for the best team. His defensive game wasn't too bad either, and I think he deserved the MVP.
Mr. Gutzman.
I do agree with Steph winning this award this season. I feel like it should have been a little closer. I believe he got 100 out of 130 first-place votes. I don't think it should have been that big of a margin because I think James Harden was very much deserving so. James Harden was second in the league with scoring, averaged almost as many assists as Steph Curry, averaged more rebounds and just as many steals. And the team for the Houston Rockets might not be as good or complete as the Golden State Warriors, so I looked at that aspect a little bit. Steph Curry obviously broke the record for 3 points again, which he had said a few years ago. So there's that little aspect, but I agree with it. But I think James Harden got my vote.
You know, it's interesting, the name Most Valuable Player award, when you think about it, you want to think of someone who is, if they're not on your team, they are will not win. You cannot succeed. And a name I don't know if I heard, Russell Westbrook. I don't know if I heard that name thrown around. If you'll remember, KD, injured for the majority of the Thunder season, and they weren't even going to make the playoffs for a great, and they didn't inevitably make the playoffs, but they weren't even considered for that. And Russell Westbrook came out of not necessarily nowhere. I always felt he had a star. He was a star that was just being overcrowded by a bigger star in KD, and now, I mean, he's had his chance to shine. Do you guys think maybe Russell Westbrook could be a superstar now going forward?
Oh, I totally agree with that. Russell Westbrook could be a superstar. And when you talk about names that, most valuable, if they're not there, they're going to lose. I feel like LeBron James is that guy, even though with Kyrie and Kevin Love, LeBron, I think, missed 11 games, and they went 2-9 in that stretch, even with Kyrie and Kevin Love healthy.
Yeah, he really held them together. But moving on, I believe.
All right, I didn't know you were the host, Nick.
Sorry, Adam.
All right, well, we have run out of time on the MVP talk, but we're going to stick with the NBA. It's playoff time. It's early May, heading into June eventually, and that means there's a finals to be decided. Milwaukee, first time we've been in the playoffs in, I think, 4 years, coming off the worst record in the NBA, but there's a lot more than just the Bucks in the playoffs. You guys have any early favorites, or what are you guys looking for in the playoffs so far?
Well, in the first round, or in the second round, I'll go with, because that's where they're at right now. The Grizzlies do not stand a chance against the Warriors with the way the Warriors are playing, but without Mike Conley being on the floor. Mike Conley is I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. He is the main reason for that team's success. As much and successful as Zebo and Marc Gasol are important to that team runs through Mike Conley.
I was very impressed watching the Clippers versus the Spurs series. I watched that one pretty intensely. The Clippers overcame what was by far one of the most strategic things that I've seen since Shaq playing, the hack of Jordan. Every single time that the Spurs would try to make a run or would need some points, they'd send DeAndre Jordan in the free throw line and then force him to go to the bench, because that's just what they were doing back and forth, allowing the Spurs. And then they overcame that. To see them do that, to overcome Greg Popovich's Spurs, arguably one of the best teams of the past 4 years, to see them do that, I really think that win is going to help them propel to do something very big here in these playoffs.
Owing to the fact that I couldn't watch the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight at all, and I just had to watch the ticker, I was tuned into that Clippers-Spurs Game 7. Without a doubt, best game of the playoffs so far. That was incredible ending.
I agree. And the ending there, talk about a clutch player. Chris Paul, he is definitely one. When it comes down to crunch time, you can count on Chris Paul to do what he needs to do.
Nikki?
Yep. Diesel already touched on the Warriors-Grizzlies series. Mike Conley, like you said, the heart and soul of that team. He's their best defensive option against Steph Curry. He runs the offense very well. They, as you said, do not stand a chance. If there is a guy that is valuable to his team, Mike Conley is that person for the Grizzlies. However, the Hawks-Wizards series, the Atlanta Hawks lost the first game of that series, and their starters played only 18 combined minutes. All 5 starters were on the floor together for only 18 minutes in that game, and I feel that that's the reason they lost. They have such a great chemistry. They run the offense and defense just unbelievably well as a unit, and by subbing and rotating through their bench a little too much, trying to keep people rested, I think it really hurt them that first game.
All right, quickly, shootout, since it's going to be our last sports scene of the year. Finals favorite, who do you got?
I'm going with LeBron. Cavs.
Clippers.
I'm going to pick the Warriors.
3 different selections. I'm actually going with Chicago. And for reasons that I will not be able to explain, because we're moving to the other playoffs going on right now, it's hockey time, It's the Stanley Cup playoffs, and this year, our area actually has a little more representation in the Stanley Cup playoffs than normal. A huge series going on right now between Chicago and Minnesota. We've got a lot of other great series going on, great teams playing right now. Guys, what are you looking for in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Right now, I'm looking at the way the Blackhawks are playing. They showed a little early on in the first round of playoffs that they look like a team that could be beaten. And right now, the way they're playing against the Wild in the first 2 games of the series, they look like they are the strongest team in the NHL. They are absolutely scoring Genos on Devin Dubnyk, who is one of the top goalies in the NHL, and he's one of the finalists. So, yeah, I like the Blackhawks right now.
Travis?
I have to agree with you. I like the Wild, but the way the Blackhawks, like you mentioned earlier, they looked like they could be beaten in the first round. But coming here to the second round, they're playing outstanding here in these first two games versus the Wild. And I don't think that the Wild are going to be able to come back against a team the way they're playing right now.
Nick?
Personally, I think the best team in the West is the Anaheim Ducks. They've trounced the Calgary Flames in the first two games. That series looks like it's going to be a sweep. I think they're even better than the Blackhawks. Out in the East, the Rangers are actually down 2-1 against the Capitals, which I find surprising. Hopefully they'll bounce back because that's my team, my pick for the Eastern Conference.
I have absolutely no stake in the playoffs this year because the Maple Leafs, as always, seem to find a way to just make me feel embarrassed to be a fan of a Toronto sports team. We got one more topic before we go to our break quick. It was the greatest Saturday in sports, and it started with the Kentucky Derby, the running of the horses. A surprising winner, American Pharoah. I actually did not get a chance to watch the Derby because I was so occupied with the pre-fight pep and all the excitement that SportsCenter was doing from Las Vegas. But guys, did you catch the races at all, and what surprised you about the Derby?
I did not get a chance to catch the race, but I heard about it, and this is the first time that the top three favorites have actually came in first, second, and third in American Pharoah. What I really want to see out of this is it's been 40 years. I really want to see a Triple Crown. That's one of the things that I want to see in my lifetime. I want to see a horse win the Triple Crown and not just win two and then go into the Preakness, is it the third one, and end up losing.
Yeah, it would be nice to see another Triple Crown. It has been, a long time. As you said, the favorites really ran the show at the Kentucky Derby. I think one of the reasons that there hasn't been a Triple Crown in a while is that horses who don't run in the first two races, maybe a little fresher, end up entering the Preakness and take that third race away. I know there was a lot of complaints last year about it, but American Pharoah took the first step, and Triple Crown definitely possible. I mean, there's still two races to be won, but it is possible.
Matt?
Yeah, I agree. I got to catch the very last home stretch, actually. It was when I turned on. And that's all you need to know, because that finish, it came down to about the last 100 yards-ish for between the first two horses, and the third guy was right there. But yeah, Affirmed was the last one to win the Triple Crown in 1978, and I want to see American Pharoah do it.
There's an interesting point. There was a horse that I believe I had a little bit of a stake in the race. I love the Jim Rome show. His horse, Shared Belief. Was he in the running? Is anybody aware of that? Because there was talk about his horse going into the race, and I did have a little bit of a stake on him at least taking show. Did you hear about him being in the race at all?
I did not.
Did not hear about that? Well, that's a shame because I know he talks about it a lot, and I listen to him all the time. But unfortunately, I can't explain more about Jim Rome because we have to take a little bit of a break. We're going to take a look at those perfect pets and be right back after these messages.
Each week, WMCM sends out a group of students to film some of the most precious animals of the Cooley Region Humane Society in a segment we like to call Perfect Pets. Here at the shelter, we found this guy. His name is Freckles, a male white-haired terrier mix. Freckles needs a home. Meet Lavender, a 2-year-old domestic short-hair adult. This kitty needs a home. This is Zeus, a Jack Russell Terrier of 6 years and 18 pounds. Zeus needs a home. To find out more about adoption for these pets or others, contact the Cooley Region Humane Society at 781-4014.
Once again, the phone number for the Cooley Region Humane Society is 781-4014. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick look at the points because we do keep track of points for this game. Let's take a quick look at what we've got going, and it is gone the minute I take a chance to look at it. But I do believe, Travis, you've got some work to do. I had to demote you. You got the Belmont and the Preakness confused.
Yep.
But we're not worry about horses anymore. We're going to stick to bats and baseballs. It's Cinco de Mayo. It means baseball season is hot and it's running strong. There's a lot going on, but one team that is not so hot are our very own Milwaukee Brewers. A lot of turbulence early on in the year already, including the hiring of a new manager and the firing of Ron Renicky. Craig Counsell, former Brewer, Diamondback and Florida Marlin, now is the manager of the team, and he's got a lot of work to do. Guys, let's elaborate. What is going on with Milwaukee?
I think it's just a shame to see what's happened to them here at the beginning. I am glad to see Ron Renicky out the door. I hope this solves the problems that they've been having. If it doesn't, they need to do something in the front, the top main offices. Doug Melvin and the other guy, they got to go if they don't turn this around.
Another demotion. Antanasio.
Okay, but
Take that jersey off.
I really think, though, that Craig Counsell, he's won a World Series. He can bring in some insight here, some things that maybe that some of the Brewers don't know, being so young or whatever, that maybe he can turn these guys around.
Nick?
I'm a little surprised with the timing of the Renicky firing. I'm a little surprised it didn't happen earlier, to be honest. The Brewers have their first 2-game win streak of the season, won their first series all season, and Renicky out the door after that. But the Brewers have started to turn it around over the last couple games. Better batting, their pitching has improved. Hopefully they turn things around for good, but just a terrible start.
Yeah, I mean, Renicky should have been fired at the end of last season with the way they ended last year to get that time. But, you know, there's too many injuries right now also, which I think is a big aspect of it.
Yeah, that is true.
Sticking with the theme of baseball, we've got some surprises in Major League Baseball right now. It's only about a month into the season. A lot can happen, a lot can change. It's a 162-game season. Plenty can happen, but there are some pleasant surprises, and in the case of Milwaukee, some not so pleasant surprises. Guys, what do you think? What's the biggest shocker so far a month into the season? Matt, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm going with the obvious, the Houston Astros. Last year, I believe they were the league's worst team. This year, I believe they have one of the best records. They had the only 10-game win streak, or one of 2 10-game win streaks in the major leagues this year. Evan Gattis is hitting like a stud. Their ace, Dallas, I'm going to mispronounce his last name. Keuchel, I believe is how you say it, is an ace, like true. Jose Altuve is a stud. The Astros right now are playing out of their minds.
I'm going to do something that doesn't happen very often. I actually agree with you, Matt. The Houston Astros are playing phenomenal baseball right now, and they are definitely a surprise because when I think of the Houston Astros, I think of one of the worst teams in the major leagues, and now they're sitting atop of the best record in the MLB. It's definitely a surprise.
All right, well, the best record in the MLB actually belongs to the St. Louis Cardinals in the NL Central. However, the Astros, I'm not as surprised by the Astros. Last year, all that young talent, it really showed towards the end of the year. I was expecting them to be good this year. The Chicago Cubs, if it weren't for the fact that the St. Louis Cardinals were so red hot right now, I think the Cubs would be leading the NL Central. And then the 2 New York teams, the Mets and the Yankees, are both leading their respective divisions. Good time to be a baseball fan in New York. I think that's more surprising, what with Derek Jeter being gone. The Mets were sort of a question mark, weren't sure how they'd fare going into this year. Both of those teams have been pleasant surprises so far this season.
This is true.
A lot of courtesy for the Houston Astros has to go to their farm system. That's definitely, it's one of the best in the majors, and it's not as talked about because you don't talk about minor league baseball and Sportscene. But sticking with baseball because that's what we're talking about. MVPs. Yeah, I know it's early. I get it, but there are some names that are floating around out there. I know Matt was talking earlier about someone that I actually agree with for MVP. So let's start with you. Who do you got?
I'm going with Nelson Cruz, Seattle Mariners outfielder, former Brewer, if people remember back in those days, speaking of minor league baseball. But Nelson Cruz, he's hopefully off the roids now, coming back from his big long suspension. He leads the league with homers with 14. The way the Mariners are doing business right now, it's all because of Nelly Cruz's bat. He leads the league in homers, RBIs. Nelson Cruz is just batting like a stud and like he's supposed to be when he's clean.
Travis.
I'm going to have to say Stanton. I'm not going to pronounce his first name because I might get docked some more points for pronouncing that wrong, but I'm going to say Stanton out of Florida. Last year at the end of the season, he got smacked in the face with a baseball and messed up his face, and to see him come back this year and do some of the things he's doing, that's pretty surprising to me, and I think he's an early season MVP.
It's Giancarlo.
Yeah.
Giancarlo Stanton.
Giancarlo.
Negative points for not trying. Nick.
Giancarlo Stanton, a good pick. I think Nelly Cruz also having a fantastic start to the season. I'm going to go with Adam Jones of the Baltimore Orioles. Pretty much all that is going right for Baltimore right now. They're sitting right around 500, but Adam Jones leads the league in batting average. He leads the league in OPS. Any category that Nelly Cruz isn't leading in, actually, Adam Jones seems to have. So I would look for that race between Adam Jones and Nelly Cruz to be pretty tight. But Adam Jones is red hot right now. He's improved over the last few seasons, and I expect him to continue batting very well.
Side note on that Baltimore game, Nick. Did you happen to catch the game in Baltimore where there were zero like this fans in the seats?
The empty
first
stadium.
game in baseball history with absolutely no attendance. Guys, how eerie was that?
Oh, just kind of watching the highlights, it was really kind of creepy. It almost, I don't even know how to explain what I saw, but watching Chris Davis continue his routine of getting the last out and then throwing the ball into the stands, I thought that was kind of cool. It looked really weird when you saw the ball just keep bouncing off the seats and stuff, but I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, sorry. The broadcasters were having a little fun with it, too. They were using their golf broadcasting voice as well. So just a little fun with the situation that they were dealing with, I guess.
Yeah, I thought it was cool to see all the pictures. Like, usually when a home run ball lands, people swamp for it, but I saw a picture like, oh, this is where his home run ball landed, and it's just sitting there. Yeah. Like, it's pretty cool.
Possibly signs of a post-apocalyptic America. Scary stuff. Moving on, no one from the Brewers starting rotation is going to be winning this award, but the Cy Young Award is also available for baseball. Pitcher who throws the best season and is regarded as the most valuable player for pitchers. They are very special people, so they get their own special award. Guys, who's the most special pitcher so far in the league?
Well, not actually a Brewer, but a former Brewer, Zach Greinke right now. He's pitching phenomenal right here at the early beginning of the season, coming in with 4-0 and a 1.93 ERA. You can't ask much more out of a pitcher coming out of spring training than to start 4-0 and start with a 1.93 ERA. So I think that right now he's an early Cy Young favorite, and him being a former Brewer, it'd be nice to see him do it.
Nick?
I'm going to go with a different pitcher from the NL West. I choose Madison Bumgarner as my early season Cy Young winner. He has also started the season 4-0. He was hot in the World Series last year, a key piece to them winning it. He had a no-hitter going through 7 innings last night. He's red hot, picking up right where he left off in October. He looks really good on the mound.
I'm going to stick out west, but I'm going over the AL, and I'm going with Kane Felix. Felix Hernandez from also the Seattle Mariners with teammate Nelson Cruz. Kane Felix has absolutely dominated this year so far. He's 5-0 with a 1.73 ERA. I believe he's one of the top strikeout leaders as usual, which he has been this dominant year in and year out for about the past 5-6 years. But finally, he's getting a little more recognition because the Mariners are becoming a better team and more competitive. Before, it was Kane Felix who would go 12-10 with a 2.12 ERA and lead in strikeouts, but the team was so bad that he'd get absolutely no recognition. And now he's finally getting a run support, and it's showing in his wins that he is arguably the best pitcher in the major leagues.
Interesting point about King Felix. He's been in Seattle for so long. Do you think he's going to stay there?
I think he is. I think he's going to ride out the career there right now.
Wow.
I agree.
Oh, alrighty then. Well, I always saw him going to be like a New York guy like CeCe, but I guess we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to have some winners, losers right after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
University of Wisconsin Lacrosse, surround yourself with potential. Surround yourself with lifelong friends. Step on campus and be welcomed with a friendly smile. It's just like home. Surround yourself with nature's beauty. Nestled in western Wisconsin's driftless area, it's perfect for learning. Hike the bluffs, bike the marsh, soar. Surround yourself with challenging academics. Our motto is Men's Corpus Gay, Latin for mind and body. Experience a whole education. Conduct research. Surround yourself with distinction. Surround yourself with UW Lacrosse.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, we're almost done with this episode of Sportscene, but before we end, we need to determine who is going to be the winner of the final show of the semester. Point totals, let's take a look at those real quick. You can see those on the bottom. Nick is in the lead with 900. Travis, you've got some work to do in winners, losers, so let's jump right into it. The biggest television event of the NFL season that does not have to do with a game is the NFL Draft. Big picks were made, trades were thrown around. My boy Melvin Gordon landed in San Diego. I was really excited to see that. We had a big rousing cheer for him when he got selected by the Chargers. Guys, it's time to make or break for Sportscene winner of the last Sportscene winner of 2015. Make your biggest pick for who was the biggest winner and who's the biggest loser. We'll start with Mr. Travis.
I have to say that the Denver Broncos are the biggest winner here. I heard them talking about this earlier today, and then they picked up Shane Ray. I mean, the guy has some off-the-field issues that had him drop a little bit in the draft. He got caught smoking a joint. Big deal later on when it all comes down to it later in his career. He's going to a team in Colorado where it doesn't even matter. It's legal there. So the thing is, it doesn't matter. He can play football. He's a great linebacker, so he has a great pickup. He's going to learn a lot from Von Miller, and he's really going to bloom into an awesome linebacker there in Denver. So I definitely think they are winners of this draft.
I like that point about legality of marijuana in Colorado. That's going to get you some points. Nick?
I think Jacksonville and Minnesota had good drafts. They picked players that address the needs that they have. I think the biggest winner, though, is Jameis Winston. I have a real issue with character flaws in quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are such high-profile players. When you look at all the off-field incidents that Jameis has dealt with over his college career and how that might translate to the NFL, I don't think it translates well. You look at guys like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, they're all strong character guys, all important leaders on their team, and I don't know that Jameis has that same stuff. So I don't know that the Buccaneers even won with that.
No.
I think the biggest winner of this draft, they haven't won very much ever, is, excuse me for my Chris Berman impression, the Raiders. They draft Amari Cooper, number 4 overall, who is, I think, by far the best wide receiver in this draft. I think he's almost flawless as it could be when drafting a prospect. They also get the big tight end Clive Walford from the U, and they have their guy that they think in Derek Carr. You have to put weapons around them. You know, they did a lot of stuff in free agency too, so I think the Raiders are a big winner this time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I want to give every one of you guys a hearty congratulations. You all did wonderful today. Side note, I think the Bears were the biggest losers because they didn't draft up to get Marcus Mariota, but you all did a very wonderful job. We're going to take one last look at the points and see who our big winner is today. Put up those points. No, I don't need to put up the points because that argument about the legality of marijuana sat really well with me. Travis, the young buck, wins Sportscene. Travis, you have 30 seconds. Let's hear that FaceTime, big boy.
Well, what I got to say, I screwed up a little bit earlier. You guys caught me, but I don't even care. It doesn't matter. I'm the winner here, but what I got to say is these two guys right here, they're graduating. They've done a lot for me here. I'm just a young buck. These two are the old parts. But they've helped me come into this system, and they've taught me a lot about broadcasting and sports, and they do correct me when I screw up, but I'm glad to have them. I'm sad to see you guys go. Matt, I hope you do graduate.
Yep, me too.
Nick,
I appreciate
Matt,
the shout-out. I'm sorry that we couldn't teach you a little more so that you sounded...
Especially that Shane Ray plays defensive end.
Yeah, Shane Ray plays defensive end now.
Maybe... forget it.
Can we steal a win away? My producers are telling me we cannot. So it will stay, although
Either way, I
controversial,
win.
that Travis Udell is the last winner of Sportscene for 2015. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching today. It's been an excellent semester. Thank you all for tuning into our Tuesday shows. I'm very glad to have worked along everybody in the WMCM crew this semester. We hope that we can see you again next semester for all of our Tuesday shows, tuning in right here. Guys, thank you for a great show. Crew, good job. Thanks everybody for watching Sportscene, and we'll see you next time.